Coming up on this episode of the Rebel Report, UNLV Football prepares for their upcoming season with spring practice officially underway.
Also, we'll get to know a Rebel softball player as well as a Rebel girl on UNLV's competitive dance team.
And stick around for the rundown, where the guys will be discussing new addition to the Raiders and where they stand in the AFC West. All that and more coming up on this episode of Rebel Report.
Welcome to Studio B in Greenspan Hall at UNLV. This is Rebel Report. I'm Murado Maish.
And I'm Lexi Ingdahl. Before we start, a quick word on what we are all about.
We are your source for UNLV sports, whether it is games, the athletes, or the coaches.
But we don't just cover the Rebels, we're also on top of all of the big sports stories happening around Southern Nevada.
Let's shift into gear with our top story.
UNLV Football held their first spring practice this week in preparation for the fall season. They're staying positive and looking to find a way from the unfortunate ending to their last season. Reporter Alex Wright was at the Fertitta Football Complex where all of the action took place.
UNLV Football is back in action with its spring football practices taking place right here at the Fertitta Football Complex. The Rebels, who showed improvements near the end of last season, look to take greater strides in Marcus Arroyo's third season as they begin preparing for the 2022 season. As the Rebels begin spring practice, much of the focus is centered around the quarterback competition. Doug Bromfield, Cameron Friel, and newcomer Harrison Bailey are all competing for the starting job. Head coach Marcus Arroyo expects the quarterbacks to compete hard and help raise the level of play of the team around them.
Well, we've just got to elevate the standards. I mean, we've got a baseline now for one full season, 1 full year of preparing with each other. That's the baseline of what we've got. We've been very pointed in some things we've got to get better at, some things we can definitely inject into our program. We've been really deliberate in pointing those out. We've got clear tasks and tools to get there, and then standards to execute.
The quarterback competition will likely continue on into the summer, but Arroyo wants to see the quarterbacks compete at a high level in spring to give him an idea of who could be the starter this season.
You know, it's always ideal to get yourself an idea who can, but I think at the end of the day, you got to create competition there, and guys have to run away with it. You know, it's going to be the same thing in fall camp. We're going to inject the freshman in, and he's got to come in and elevate the standard. So competition at that position, just like everywhere else, is not just a cliche. It makes everybody better.
The Rebels will continue spring practice through April 30th. For Rebel Report, I'm Alex Wright.
We're excited to see what our Rebels can do this year. Thanks, Alex.
Switching over to hockey, our Las Vegas Golden Knights had a jaw-dropping comeback in OT last weekend against the Chicago Blackhawks. I was live at T-Mobile Arena where I witnessed what some consider to be a miracle. I'm here at the T-Mobile Arena where the Las Vegas Golden Knights just faced off against the Chicago Blackhawks. The Las Vegas Golden Knights played one of their best games of the season this past Saturday. After trailing 3-0 going into the third period, the Knights scored 3 goals by Chandler Stevenson, William Karlsson, and Jack Eichel in the first 3 minutes of the period to quickly get back into the game. The Blackhawks retook the lead with 10 minutes left in the game, but Alex Pietrangelo quickly answered back to level the game and send it to overtime, where no other but the man that goes by Daddy scored the winning goal to secure the 5-4 comeback win for the Knights. While this ecstatic crowd celebrated the big win, VGK fans also celebrated the return of Alex Martinez after his horrible injury 4 months ago. Here's what the defensive man had to say about his mental health during the recovery process.
For me, it was a pretty frustrating process. Again, it's probably the hardest thing I've gone through in my career, but I can't again thank enough the people that try to help me, the specialists and all that. But it's just like any injury, a setback. I mean, it doesn't matter who it is in the locker room. Obviously we have a lot of injuries right now, but there's not a guy in there that's injured that's feeling good about himself. But that said, injuries are a part of the game. It happens to everyone, and it's how you react to it. You got to try to stay positive, regardless of setbacks or anything like that.
After an amazing victory and the return of Martinez, the Knights fans have plenty to look forward to in their playoff race headed into the beginning of May. Their next game will be in Seattle against Kraken on Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Make sure to tune in. From Rebel Report, this is Murad Omesh. What an amazing performance by the Golden Knights. Hopefully they can keep winning games and secure a playoff spot.
UNLV Rebel Baseball beat ASU in a change of scenery at the Las Vegas ballpark on Tuesday. Here's Sydney Lum with more.
Our UNLV baseball team went against Arizona State on Tuesday at the Las Vegas ballpark and won with a final score of 11-10. ASU led at the end of the first inning, but UNLV pulled ahead in the second, and ASU stayed trailing until the ninth inning when they were able to tie the game. Going into the bottom of the ninth, Adarian Williams was up to bat, already having 3 for 3 and 5 RBIs. Williams then hit a triple and scored the winning run off of a wild pitch.
Feeling good, feeling happy that we could pull it out, win this game. It was a long game, tough game, but I'm just happy we could pull it out.
Williams played a big part in this win as he was a home run away from a cycle.
I wasn't really thinking too much about it. I tried not to at least. It would have been a cool thing to do, but I'm not worried about that. I'm just glad we pulled it out, can win, great team win, and that's all I could ask for.
This has been Sydney Lum with Rebel Report.
How exciting it was for them to play at Las Vegas ballpark in like a professional stadium.
I know, it must have been a huge confidence boost for the players. I bet they had a great time, and I bet the crowd was energetic and had a good time.
Yeah, the fans must have been really excited to have that nice brand new stadium to watch in.
Yeah. As UNLV Softball passes the midway point of its season, the ladies are rolling with only 6 losses so far this season. Here's Isaiah with more.
UNLV Softball took on the Dixie State Trailblazers last Tuesday and beat them 3-1, despite the Rebels not scoring until the 6th inning, only going 3 for 18 at the plate from the 1st and 5th innings. Pitcher Alana Thide threw a career-high 8 strikeouts through 6 innings, which saved the Rebels from being down more than 1 run going into the end of the game. After sweeping San Diego in 3 games this past weekend, the Rebels will face the Boise State Broncos in Idaho to try to claim the top spot in the division. This is Isaiah Mora with Rebel Report.
Thank you, Isaiah, and good luck, ladies.
UNLV Softball hosted a weekend series against the University of San Diego. Here's Hector Solomon with more.
I'm Hector Solomon at Eller Media Stadium, where UNLV Softball swept a 3-game series against the University of San Diego. Let's take a closer look at the action.
The Rebels took care of business on the diamond this weekend, taking all 3 of their contests against the Toreros of San Diego. The Rebels won their 3 games by scores of 7-4, 7-1, and 6-3 respectively. Jenny Bressler made an appearance in the pitching circle in all 3 games, going for 14 2/3 innings across the series, allowing just 3 earned runs. Alana Thede picked up the victory in the Sunday finale, her 6th of the season, striking out 4 in 3+ innings. The lineup did its job as well, putting up 20 runs on the San Diego pitching staff. Pitcher/outfielder Jasmine Martin had quite the weekend at the dish. Martin launched 2 home runs, including one that hit the left field scoreboard, damaging an LED panel. Here's Martin talking about her figurative and literal impact on the scoreboard.
I mean, I didn't mean to, but it feels nice. It feels nice being able to finally let loose on one and feel better about myself.
Rebel fans will gladly trade runs for broken LED panels, even if the Rebels' power display means more power outages for the scoreboard. I'm Hector Solomon, UNLV Rebel Report.
UNLV will look to keep their winning streak rolling in a pivotal conference matchup against Boise State starting Friday, April 1st at 3 p.m. in Boise.
Although the Lady Rebels season came to an end after a first-round loss to Arizona in the NCAA tournament, they're still looking in the direction of success towards a promising future. Reporter Jesse Matuska has a recap on the end of their season.
The UNLV Lady Rebels basketball team just wrapped up one of their most successful seasons in school program history, winning the Mountain West tournament and making it to the big dance for the first time in 20 years. First-year head coach Lindy LaRocque held a press conference last Friday to talk about this season's accomplishments and how the team improved throughout the season.
Looking as a whole, it is pretty remarkable. Thinking about our early practices. I mean, our earliest practice in August, yes, we were here working out together over the summer, but we did strictly individual skill development. We didn't implement offense. We didn't do any kind of offensive concepts or let alone defense or anything like that. So it was pretty quick.
After such a successful season, Coach LaRock shared her thoughts on next season, given that she will be coaching most of the same players as this year.
Well, I mean, talking with some of them in the last couple of days, they're really hungry for more. I mean, we've got a real big pit in our stomach for kind of how that game ended. I think we're obviously excited to even have that opportunity, but we were knocking on the door, and it makes you a little angry of like what we could have, should have, oughta done it.
There is a long time until next season, but Coach LaRock and the Lady Rebels are hungry to have an even better season next year. Reporting for Rebel Report, I'm Jesse Matuska.
We sure are looking forward to everything the ladies will achieve next season. Thanks, Jesse.
Coming up on the rundown, Nick and Keaton will discuss the additions to the Raiders and what their future holds.
Rebel Report UNLV.com has everything you're looking for when it comes to Las Vegas news, sports, and current events. All articles are written by a handful of talented local writers who keep up on everything Las Vegas, from UNLV athletics to Vegas Golden Knights, UFC, and many, many more. You can even view videos and photos from your favorite Las Vegas events in a special folder found on the site. So go check out rebelreport.com and see what we have to offer.
I'm Jelani Watts.
And I'm Hector Solomon.
And that's all for Rebel Report. We'll see you next time.
And cut! I got 2 minutes to get to the Mac Center before the game starts.
Second round or undrafted, who's going to make it to the NBA?
I don't know. Ladies, I know they just won the Mountain West Conference. You said, do you think they're going to take it all the way?
I hope they do. I feel like they're bouncing.
You guys, Rebel Report.
Welcome to The Rundown. I'm this week's host, Connor Torres, and here with me today are Nick and Keaton. We're going to be discussing the Raiders and the AFC West. So Nick, what do you think the Raiders' additions of wide receiver Devonta Adams and defensive end Chandler Jones bring to this team?
Well, I think the addition of Devonta Adams is huge. He's probably like a top 3 receiver in the league, maybe even the best one. And just after losing Henry Ruggs last year to legal issues, it seemed like the Raiders' offense got a little bit predictable. Like third and Renfro or Waller were always the options. So now you have one of the best one-on-one receivers, one of the best slot receivers, one of the best tight ends, and a top 10 running back on that offense. So Derek Carr has all the weapons he needs to succeed. And with Chandler Jones, putting him on the opposite side of Max Crosby is insane. The one thing I'm worried about, or two things actually, are his injury history, and also his brother John Jones, the UFC fighter. Whenever he comes to Vegas, he tends to act up, and he gets in a lot of legal trouble. So I'm hoping Chandler is more mature than his brother, and he just stays like focused on the Raiders and brings like a winning mentality to that defensive dressing room.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. I really do. Offensively, Devonta is just, I think he's stellar all around. I think he is probably the best receiver in the league. You have him and Waller. That's just a perfect duo to me. Renfro is great, but it's going to be Devonta and Waller. That's the main show. And then Chandler Jones, you mentioned the injuries. That's probably my only critique on signing him. I think he's going to be phenomenal. I think he could have another 10-sack season, but if he doesn't stay healthy, I don't think he impacts the defense the way the Raiders wanted him to.
Okay, cool. And then what do you think that addition and those superstar players, how does that stack up with the rest of the AFC West? Because I know Denver got better, KC got better, and LA Chargers got better.
Well, I think the Chargers are going to kind of like take the cake in that situation, just because you add Khalil Mack, you add J.C. Jackson. J.C.'s already joining a room with Asante Samuel and Derwin James as your DBs. So you're set there in your secondary. Your linebacking core is already kind of good and young, and now you have Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack on the line. What more could you ask for in a front seven, in a defense, really? Offensively, again, I think they were the best offense last year just because they stayed healthy, and Herbert is, in my opinion, probably the most accurate quarterback in that division.
Yeah, so like he said, the Chargers are really stacked. with the offensive weapons and defensive weapons. I feel like the Chargers, where they're like not as elite as the other teams in the division, is coaching. Brandon Staley last year, I feel like he cost them a lot of games with his like decision making. I feel like he's a little too risky and a little too analytical. Doesn't really feel the game as much as he should. But I feel like the Chiefs are still the favorites because they do have the best QB and coach duo in the division.
Cool. So one final question. Who do you guys think wins this division next year and why?
You want to take this one first?
Yeah, I'll go first. I think, like, if we're talking about regular season, I think the Chargers will win it. But I think the Chiefs will go the farthest because Mahomes and Andy Reid, they have that connection. Even though they lost Tyreek Hill, they still have other weapons. And Patrick Mahomes is probably the best quarterback in that division, even though the QBs are stacked in that division. But I feel like his connection with Andy Reid takes him to a different level, and he's going to get everyone involved. Travis Kelce's going to go off. And I feel like they have something to prove after a disappointing end of last season.
I kind of half agree. I do think that the Chiefs and the Chargers are probably the best two teams in that division, but I do think, Raiders and Denver, they're as competitive as they are. I think those are going to be the bottom of the division, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Chargers make the long-term run, go to the Super Bowl and everything. I like the Chiefs, but I think losing Tyreek Hill is somewhat impactful. You get Valdez-Scantling, that's going to help, but I just think the Chargers, offensively, defensively, mentality-wise, I think they are looking for a Super Bowl right now.
That is fair. I'm rooting for the Raiders because Vegas, so
Vegas.
I think they have a good opportunity, especially with those additions. So, all right, boys, that will wrap up the rundown for this week. Thanks for coming out to talk. For now, I'll send it back over to Lexi at the desk.
Every week, we get to know an athlete at UNLV and more about their life outside of sports.
We'll now turn it over to Kimya Oliver with Getting to Know That Rebel.
Thanks, guys. I was able to get to know a fellow Rebel on our softball team. Hi, Rebel fans, and welcome to Getting to Know That Rebel. Today we have special guest Lauren Barker.
Hi, guys.
So, what made you pick UNLV over any other university out there?
So I'm from Vegas. I went to high school here, and I think my main reasoning behind it was so that my family could be able to come watch me play. And and I love the coaching staff here. So so far so good. I love it all. So.
What is your major here at UNLV?
My major is urban studies.
Outside of softball, what do you like to do for fun?
Definitely hang out with my friends and family. I think outside of softball, when you have a bad day, you get to leave it here, and then nothing's better than hanging out with your friends or family. So,
for the fans to know and for me to know, how do you properly hold a bat when you're up to the plate?
Yeah. So personally, I like to line my knuckles up like so. And then I like to lean my bat forward a little bit. It helps me keep my hands up top. And then, that's basically it. Just like the coaches say, not to grip it too hard. So, yep.
So, thank you. Come back next week to get to know another Rebel.
Thank you, Kimya.
Check back next week to get to know another Rebel. While there are plenty of well-known sports on campus, you may be surprised to know that we also have a competitive dance team. Reporter Jamie Boyle was in person with one of our Rebel Girls.
Hey everyone, this is Jamie with Rebel Report, and I'm here with Amy Tyrangdet from the Rebel Girls. Amy, can you tell us what grade you're in and what you're studying?
I am a sophomore and I'm studying hospitality.
So why did you choose hospitality?
I chose hospitality because I really like to work with guests and also just making sure they're having a great time. So having events going on, I wish everyone's having a great time and that everyone is able to enjoy whatever they're doing, and I like to be able to plan that one day.
That's awesome. What do you want to do in the future? So you want to plan that? What
plan
way?
Music or festivals or even concerts or sporting events. So I don't know quite yet, but I do know that event planning is somewhere in my future, hopefully.
That's awesome. Yes. So what made you want to join the Rebel Girls in college?
High school, actually. The Rebel Girls performed at my high school assembly one day, and they looked pretty cool. And I was like, I'm going to try it and see what happens. And next thing you know, I'm on the team.
What has your experience been like on the Rebel Girls?
Absolutely amazing. I love it.
That's awesome. Do you have any advice for anyone that might want to try out for the Rebel Girls?
My biggest advice is probably to go to our clinics that are coming up. We have one on April 2nd, and also just to come to tryouts because you never know what happens, because I didn't know that I was going to make it, and here I am now.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll see you next time on Rebel Report.
The Rebel Girls are a special part of the game day experience for fans, athletes, and coaches. Jamie, thank you.
Up next, one of the biggest events in the world is driving into Vegas.
Don't forget to check out our weekly podcasts on Spotify. Every week we break down all the big sports stories happening in Las Vegas, including the Rebels, Raiders, Golden Knights, and much more.
Are you a sports fan and want to keep up with your local sports?
Well then listen up, because we have the perfect thing for you.
Welcome to Rebel Report, where we cover all things Las Vegas sports.
Soccer, we got it.
Baseball, we got it.
Football, we got it.
And basketball?
Well, you know the answer to that one.
Tired of endless scrolling through sports shows that don't talk about your Vegas teams? Haven't found the right sports show for you?
I just wish there was a show that focused on Vegas sports.
There is.
Really?
It's called The Rebel Report.
What is Rebel Report?
The Rebel Report is a UNLV sports show run by UNLV students that covers everything Vegas sports. To Golden Knights hockey, to Raiders football, to UNLV softball, the Rebel Report has it all.
You don't have to tell me twice. I'm watching right now.
You can watch the Rebel Report on YouTube and Facebook. And for more sports news, follow the Rebel Report on Twitter.
Rebel Report is your go-to place for coverage of sports all over Las Vegas, providing stories and content you won't find anywhere else.
Hey Alex, you ready to record the podcast?
Yeah, Barry, I'm ready. Let's get it going.
All right, sounds good. In 3, 2, 1. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Rebel Report podcast for another edition of What They Did Right with Alex Wright. I'm Brandon Steele talking UNLV football. Alex, what did you think of last week's game? Alex? Alex?
My bad, Brandon. I was looking up on Rebel Report's website. They got a ton of new content. VGK, the Raiders, Golden Knights, UNLV football. They got a ton of stuff, new articles that just were published today.
All right, man. Sounds good. No worries. So I guess we'll go ahead and just redo the intro for our podcast. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Rebel Report podcast. I am Brandon Steele alongside Alex Wright for another edition of What They Did Right. How you doing today, Alex? Alex, you good, man? What's going on?
Oh, my bad, Brandon. I just saw they posted the latest episode of Rebel Report. It's up right now on their YouTube page and their Facebook page.
Oh, a new episode's out now?
Yeah.
All right. So we might have to wrap this up and go watch that episode then.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea. Get caught up on what's happening at UNLV and Las Vegas sports, then get back to our podcast. Make sure it gets posted on the Rebel Report website.
Welcome back. Rebel reporter Daniel Ramirez has more on the Vegas Nighthawks and their second game at home.
The 2022 IFL season is officially underway as the Vegas Nighthawks welcome the Tucson Sugar Skulls to the brand new Dollar Loan Center. The Nighthawks look to continue their momentum after the first game as they would score first as Jalen Henderson found KD Cannon for the score. Although the Sugar Skulls would immediately respond as Daquan Neal would run the ball into the end zone. The back and forth would continue as the game would see 8 lead changes. The Sugar Skulls would pull away in the fourth quarter after 2 unanswered scores. The Nighthawks' comeback would fall short as they lost the game 39-48. Nighthawks head coach Mike Davis shared his optimism despite the score after the game.
Well, I mean, you look at what happened from last week to this week. I mean, we made monumental strides. So we'll just keep putting one foot in front of the other. And like I said, we'll be fine. I told people at the beginning of the year, through 4 games, if we were 2-2, that's a huge success for us, being an expansion team. That's still attainable. I mean, we dropped one tonight we shouldn't have lost, but that's part of the game.
The Nighthawks travel to San Jose next to take on the Bay Area Panthers Monday, April 4th. This is Daniel Ramirez reporting for Rebel Report.
The Vegas Nighthawks host their third game against the Arizona Rattlers on April 8th. Be sure to check them out at the Dollar Loan Center Arena.
The Las Vegas Lights have enjoyed a great start to the season, but could they keep their winning ways going against Memphis 9-0-1? Nick Todorovich has more.
The Lights welcomed Memphis 9-1 to Cashman Field this past weekend. Vegas came into this game in great goal-scoring form. However, Memphis' defense stifled the dynamic trio of Musovski, Trejo, and Jennings. The Lights had a lot of the ball but couldn't get much going in the final third, and then in the second half, Memphis caught the Lights sleeping on a counterattack to take a 1-0 lead. The Lights pushed for the equalizer but couldn't get any clear-cut goal-scoring opportunities. The 1-goal lead is all Memphis needed to leave Vegas with all 3 points.
Formula One is set to hit the bright lights of the Las Vegas Strip in 2023. According to ESPN, Las Vegas will hold its event on a Saturday night in November of next year. This is a rarity in an F1 calendar, featuring Grand Prix events on Sundays. The race will feature some of Vegas's most famous landmarks, hotels, and casinos in what is a multi-year deal with F1. The cars will flash by Caesar's Palace, Bellagio Fountain, and Mandalay Bay as a part of the 3.8-mile circuit. They'll also race past a ball-shaped MSG sphere that is currently under construction and set for completion next year. That's a wrap for the episode of Rebel Report.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.